Hello everybody and welcome to the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. My name is Jason C. and if you're a subscriber, thanks so much for the support and watching again. If you're new to the channel looking for the latest in whiskey and bourbon news and reviews, you have found the right place. So hit that subscribe button below and hit that bell notification so you know when I'm releasing a new video, or you could join in on one of my live streams. With the release of the Rebel Yell 100 proof wheated bourbon recently from Lux Row distillers, another affordable wheated bourbon has hit the shelves. And not just affordable, but also at 100 proof, which means more flavor for us. But instead of doing a full review, I thought, let's see how the new Rebel Yell 100 stacks up in a budget blind wheated mashup today on the Mash and Drum. Now let's meet the contenders. Crafted using the same recipe as for Rebel Yell Kentucky Straight Bourbon, which is only 80 proof, this 100 proof wheated bourbon was announced in April of 2019 in conjunction with new Rebel Yell labels and bottles. Rebel Yell 100 is sourced from Heaven Hill and said to be around 4 years old. It's a permanent addition to the Rebel Yell product line and can be had for about 26 bucks. When it comes to wheated bourbons, William LaRue Weller is the one that started them all. Weller Special Reserve is the entry-level bottling to the Weller line and a fan favorite as part of Buffalo Trace's wheated bourbons. This is bottled at 90 proof, set to be around 7 years old, and has an MSRP of about 28 bucks. One of the most recognizable bottles on the shelf due to that dripping red wax, Maker's Mark is a popular wheated bourbon made with a mash bill recipe of 70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. Maker's Mark is aged in char No. 3 New American barrels for about 6 to 7 years. This is bottled at 90 proof and is available everywhere for about 25 to 30 bucks. Larceny is a brand extension of Heaven Hill's old Fitzgerald line. According to their story, back in the day, John E. Fitzgerald used his privilege of holding the keys to Pappy Van Winkle's bonded warehouse, where the old Fitzgerald bourbons were kept, to steal the best cask for himself. These became known as the Fitzgerald barrels. Larceny is a wheated bourbon made from a blend of selected barrels, and while the exact mash bill is not disclosed, Heaven Hill notes Larceny contains 1/3 more wheat than other competitors. This is bottled at 92 proof and can be had for about 27 bucks. All right, so I have poured each of these 4 out into these glasses. I put a sticker underneath to let me know which bourbon is which from these 4. Before we begin, let's mix them up. Here we go. So what I'm gonna do is I have a piece of paper here. I'm just gonna rate them on my own. I'm gonna kind of taste through them, nose them, see what I taste, see how the finish is, and see which one comes out on top for me personally. So let's start with the nose on number 1 here. Here we go. All right, this one's coming off as extremely corn sweet. There's some peanut characteristic in there as well. A tiny bit of fruit. It has a little bit of a salty characteristic to it as well, which is kind of cool. Definitely getting some of those wheated bourbon fruit flavors as well. A little bit of an apple, maybe a hint of a cherry or a strawberry there. Yeah, but so far for me, the strong note here is vanillas, some really strong corn sweetness, and a good amount of peanut flavor too. That does make me think Heaven Hill, but we'll see how it goes in the end. All right, let's go for a sip. Here we go. Cheers. That one's nice. Really nice flavor. A lot of, again, more corn sweetness on the palate. The wheated fruit flavors play into it a little bit, but you get a real nice, like, salted peanut type characteristic on the palate. Let's go for another sip here. That second sip got a little bit more fruity now. Now I got a little bit more of a strawberry note to it. Little cherry. Still that salted peanut characteristic. Very corn forward as well. Very sweet. It's got a nice little finish too. I would say this is a short on the border of medium finish on this one. It definitely leaves a little bit of a lingering proof to it on the back end. One last sip here. I like that one. It's staying pretty consistent too. You're still getting the corn, the vanilla, the caramel, the peanut, that salted peanut, a little bit of honey, some cherry. Nice finish that's lingering. That's a really nice starter one for number 1 here. Let me take a sip of water. All right, let's go to number 2 to see what we get. Here we go. This one is a little bit more oaky. It's very oak forward, a little bit of leather too. There is some peanut coming through in this one as well. Really interesting. A lot of vanillas, caramels. Again, on this one I'm getting cherry too. I'm getting a little cherry, a little apple as well on this one. There is a slight peanutty character to this one too, but I'm getting more oak behind it. There's a little bit more of an oak influence in this one. Definitely has some, there's definitely some alcohol coming out of the glass as well. Caramels, vanillas. This one has a little bit more of a Cracker Jack and cherry type aspect to it. But definitely a little bit more oak forward than number one here. So let's go for a sip, see what we get. A little bit similar to A. This one has a little bit of a peanut characteristic as well. A little bit more oak flavor. It's a little bit more tingly on the palate, which I really like. Let's go for another sip here. I really like the mouthfeel on this one. This one is coating the palate very nicely. It's definitely giving some corn sweetness. This one has a nice proof to it too. You know, you could kind of feel the proof on the palate on this one. It's very tingly. It's leaving a nice peppery finish on the back end. Again, a little bit more peanut, some fruit there. Let's go for another sip here. Cheers. Not as full dimensional though as A. This one is a little bit lighter, I think, in flavor profile, but really nice. This one has a longer finish than the number one here. That's interesting. Still getting the peanuts, still getting a little bit of leather, but still very good. I like this one a lot. It's reminding me of number one a little bit with that peanut characteristic, but let me go one last sip here. Yeah, it's definitely more oaky. It's got a really nice flavor to it though. There's a really beautiful balance here. It's not super, I feel like this is a short to medium type finish. It's kind of going away a little bit quickly, but still pretty good. All right, let's go for another sip of water. All right, let's go to number three, see what we get. Here we go. This one is very wheaty, if that's a word. You could really smell the wheat grain on this one. Extreme. This one's a little bit more floral. Definitely has a lot of corn and vanilla in it. A little bit of caramel, but kind of light caramel. Definitely some oak there. A little bit of a pepper. A tiny hint of fruit, but really the wheat characteristic, you could really, if you've ever smelled fresh wheat in like if you ever go to a distillery and they actually let you smell the grains, if you ever smelled the wheat, that's what it smells like coming out of this glass. You could really smell the wheat. You could also smell the corn pretty strong too. All right, let's go for another sip. Here we go. Wow. That one, the palate didn't do too much. It kind of went really quick. It's leaving this kind of very, this little bit of a pepper spice on the back end. Let's go for another sip. Second sip was better. I'm just getting really all vanilla, a little bit of corn, a lot of that wheat characteristic is still really kind of playing on the palate. That's really dangerously easy to drink. Go for another sip here. I'm actually getting like a hint of a licorice. That's crazy. A little bit of a licorice characteristic on this one. That boggles my mind. I don't think I've ever gotten a licorice note on any of these. But I am getting a little bit of a licorice note on this one. Still that wheat, still that corn. One last sip on number three here. Yeah. Oak, caramel, vanilla, a lot of wheat flavor, a little bit of an apple note, and a little bit of a licorice note on the end. Very interesting. Again, kind of a short, maybe medium finish, a little bit peppery. Definitely way different than the first two. Just kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for. So let me take a sip of water and then we'll try the last one. All right, guys, let's go to the last one. I want to call out that this was the licorice that I was getting was not like a red cherry licorice. It was a black licorice, like star anise. So just to kind of give you a better idea of what I was tasting on this one, which is why it was so kind of weird and funky for me. All right, let's go to the last one, see what we get on the nose. This one has a really beautiful nose. This one's really sweet, very inviting on the nose. You get a nice balance of oak, some caramels. This one seems to be a little bit darker than the rest of them. It's a little darker, a little richer. Man, this one I'm getting a good amount of fruit on here. This one has a lot of apple, getting a little bit of a pear note in here as well. Maybe a hint of a cherry. A ton of vanilla, a ton of oak. Well, not a ton of oak. I just want to, there is a good balance there. Yeah. That one has probably the best nose out of all of them. Really sweet, really inviting, has a really beautiful balance in that glass. All right, let's go for a sip. Here we go. Cheers. So that one comes in with again, just like the nose, it has a really beautiful balance on the palate. Comes in with some corn, some oak. You definitely get them some more of that apple, that pear note. Has a little bit of a tingly finish. Let's go for another sip. This one just stays really sweet. The flavors are very bright. A lot of vanilla, a lot of caramel, but they're light. It's a lighter caramel, kind of a brown butter type aspect to it. Really sweet. Got a little bit of a cherry note. I'm still getting more of that apple. It's kind of an apple cherry type combination. Just on the mid palate for a little bit. Then on the back end, you get some pepper and some nice oak. It's a really nice balance here. Let me go for another sip. Yeah, that's super light. The finish on it actually just kind of goes away a little bit quick for me. But the balance of flavors here, it's probably the best balance out of all four. You can just get a really nice kind of combination of all different flavors. It's going to be kind of tough to choose out of the four. All four of them are very different. Two of them are a little bit more similar, which might make sense, knowing where two of these came from. So I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and I'm going to taste through these one more time real quick. All right, guys, just to change things up a little bit, let's go in reverse order here. So let's go to the palate on this one. Here we go. Again, really balanced on the palate. I love the oak. I love the vanilla. I love that little bit of an apple pear kick you get. Just kind of a little bit on the mid palate. Good mouthfeel to it. Leaves a nice little peppery spice that it actually has been lingering on a little bit afterwards, which I really like. Go for one more sip. Yeah, and as you keep sipping this one, it just gets lighter, easier to drink, but still providing a very nice balance. So this one's really good, and just now again I'm getting a little bit of that peppery spice that just kind of all of a sudden makes itself to be known. It's weird. It's like a pause. Like you sip it, and then all of a sudden it just kind of goes away, and then maybe 5-6 seconds later, all of a sudden this little pepperiness kind of shows up. I really like 4 a lot. All right, let's go into number 3. See what we get. Again, this one's extremely sweet. It's very easy to sip. This one's more sweet, doesn't have a ton of balance here. If you like a sweeter wheated bourbon or just a sweeter bourbon in general, this one's pretty good. It's got a lot of corn. This one is, like I said, it's got a really extreme wheat flavor to it. When you kind of can really taste the wheat on the palate. A little bit of an apple note. Not too much of a finish, but you do get a little bit of oak on the end. Go for one more sip. Yeah, and again, I'm still getting a little bit of that black licorice note on the end. Which is just bizarre. Usually that's something you get with a rye, but there's no rye in this, so kind of boggles my mind a little bit. But again, very sweet up front. A little bit of a fruity mid palate. Not really much to the finish, but just a sweet wheater. All right, let's go to number 2 and see what we get. This one has some really nice nuttiness to it. Good proof point. Definitely the peppery spice lingers here. There's a cherry strawberry type thing going on to go along with the peanut butter. A little bit of a peanut butter and jelly thing going on the palate on this one. Go one more sip. That one's providing a nice spice on the end too. I like that one a lot. This one is getting a little bit more of a peanut forward aspect to it. A little bit more of a strawberry, peanut, some corn. Definitely probably the oakiest out of all 4 of these. Definitely getting a good oak punch. And then it's leaving a very nice spicy finish. I like number 2 a lot. All right, quick sip of water. All right, let's go to number 1, see what we get. Here we go. I love the spice on that one. This one is the spiciest of all 4. It leaves a nice kind of tingly mouthfeel to it. Really mouth coating on this one as well. Really nice. Let me go for another sip. Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's giving more of a spice kick to it. It's also slightly oaky. It's not giving me this one is giving a slight bitterness to it on the oak side, which kind of turns me off a little bit. But this one I really like. So, all right, I think I'm ready to rank these. Can you guys guess yet what's in each glass? I guess we'll find out in a sec. All right, guys, it is time to find out how I rank these and then time to find out what is in each glass. I am going to give a little bit of a guess here before we reveal, just to see if I was on the right track. So coming in 4th place is number 3. Number 3 probably had the lightest type of flavor profile. It was extremely weedy, not much of a finish at all. Very sweet, very easy sipper. I could see this being a favorite for some people, but just not my thing. So I'm gonna put that one in 4th place. Coming in 3rd place is number 2. This one I really like. This one I think also had a peanut type flavor profile to it. Had a little bit of an oak characteristic, but the more I sipped it, the oak started getting a little bit bitter, which is a big turnoff for me. Definitely had a good finish to it. It lingered, but this one goes to 3rd place. All right, my 2nd place goes to number 4. This one had the really beautiful balance on the nose, very sweet up front, a lot of balance on the palate. Definitely had some good flavor to it. Had some vanilla, some caramels. Had this sneaky finish that kind of like came up after like 5-6 seconds after kind of letting it go down your palate. Really interesting. Really like that one a lot. And number 1 is number 1. This one for me had that peanut, that salt, a little bit of a strawberry characteristic, and probably the longest finish out of all 4 of them. So that is my ranking. All right, it's time to find out what's in each glass. I'm gonna guess number 4 is Maker's Mark. I've had Maker's a lot before. I really love it as a mixer. It's really sweet, it's very easy. A lot of people love Maker's and I can see why. But if you're just drinking it straight, there's just not enough going on. So, and I've tasted it before and it definitely does have more of a weedy type of flavor profile. So let's see if I was right. And it is Maker's Mark, so nailed that one. So number 4 comes in for Maker's Mark. Number 3. Now in 3rd place, like I said, this has a nutty characteristic to it, a little bit of a jam characteristic to it. It was very, very good. The only thing that killed it for me is it had a little bit of a bitter oak aspect to it, which definitely turns me off a little bit. So I'm gonna guess this was either the Rebel Yell, the Larceny, because it's from Heaven Hill, and Heaven Hill has that peanut characteristic to it. Just not sure which one it was. Just because of it had a lighter finish, I'm gonna say that this one was maybe the Larceny, because the Rebel Yell's 100. So let's see. Actually, it's the Rebel Yell. This is the Rebel Yell 100, which had definitely more of an oak profile. Came in a little bit more with an oak, kind of a bitter type flavor profile. Really interesting. So Rebel Yell comes in 3rd. Coming in at 2nd, this one was a really well balanced one and had a really sweet flavor profile. I'm definitely gonna guess this is the Weller Special Reserve. And let's see, this is Weller Special Reserve. One of the most balanced and beautiful wheated bourbons on the market, which makes number 1 Larceny. So Larceny comes in at number 1, beating out all 4 of these as my favorite wheated bourbon in this blind flight at 92 proof. This one had, even though it's lower than the Rebel Yell, it still had more of a spice to it, more of a, I love that peanut kick and that strawberry kick. Had a really nice mouthfeel to it, even better than the Rebel Yell 100. It's really interesting to see the similarities between the Rebel Yell and the Larceny, considering they're both from Heaven Hill. But, I mean, there's a very distinctive flavor profile difference. The 100 proof, I don't think really, it definitely helps in the mouthfeel to it, but that bitterness on the oak on the very end is what kind of killed it for me. If it didn't have that, that one might have taken the title. Weller, as you know, is a big favorite. Definitely love Weller. This is one of the best balanced wheated bourbons on the market. If you could find it at retail, it's always a great pickup. And Maker's Mark is just probably one of the more famous wheaters. It's got some great flavor to it. It's very sweet. If you're looking for a mixer or starting into bourbon and you don't want something very harsh, you want something very sweet, then Maker's Mark could be the kind of the gateway for you. But as far as just sipping a wheater neat, Larceny took it for me, so congrats to Larceny. All right, guys, well, thanks again for watching the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. To find out what is my favorite budget wheated bourbon on the market today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram and find me on Twitter. Let me know what you think of these 4. If you've had the new Rebel Yell 100 yet, what you think of it, how it compares to these other wheated bourbons. And as I always say, it is not about the whiskey, it is the people you share it with. So cheers, and I'll see you next time on the Mash and Drum. Take care.